Hey everybody, it's Lisa, proud owner of Body Soul Training, and welcome back to our program, The Inner Life of Fitness, where we share stories to inspire you to help ignite your inner and outer strength. So I am so excited and honored today to have my very first client when I first started in the business. It was so amazing to be with him through his journey in the beginning. He lost lots of weight and he stayed with it throughout the years. So welcome, Dan Kaplan.
Thanks. I'm glad to be here, Lisa.
So I just want to say a little bit about Dan. So Dan, right now currently lives on a farm, 500 acres, Hearthstone Farm, where it's up in Maine, where he raises grass-fed beef. But prior to that, prior to farming, he's a serial entrepreneur. He started and operated various businesses, including publishing and technology companies in Rhode Island and Massachusetts. And I think you're most proud of this, Dan. You're a father of 3 grown children.
Most days I'm pretty proud of that. Yeah.
So thank you so much. This is such a treat. We're going back probably, I'm not going to say how long ago, but when I first started my fitness career, you were one of the first intricate people. So as I have helped you, you have also helped me. And I really want you to, if you can, share your story to our listeners, because you're an example of someone who worked with me from the beginning. You did the program, you stayed with it over the years, and you've been through a lot of different changes in your life, and you've been consistently growing, but also along with your fitness. So love to hear your story.
Sure. I was reflecting on it today when I was thinking about, getting together with you here. And, if I was thinking about it, I was never an athlete when I was growing up or anything. In fact, I don't think I had ever been. Pretty much, I think this is true. I'd never been in a gym before I walked into the Jewish Community Center in Providence one day. But what triggered that was it was about 25 years ago. I must have been, 40, in my early 40s. And I had gained a bunch of weight from, say, when I was 20. I got married. I was not exercising at all. I was not eating well. And I walked into my doctor's office and he tested me and he said, "You've got high blood pressure." And he said that, you can go on medication now, or you can attempt to, change your lifestyle and lose some weight and see if that changes it. So I thought, I don't want to be on medication. I'll lose the weight. And that was, so I did. I got kind of a little obsessed about it. I worked at it, and I lost probably about 45 pounds. I got down to, I was like in my, 138 or 139 pounds. But I got this reaction from people who said, "Are you okay?" Because, if you think about, like, somebody loses 45 pounds and you look at them and come, even my cousins would say that, and they look like, "Oh, you must be sick." And I think it was because if you just lose weight without becoming fit, that is how you're probably going to appear. So that was my motivation. And I walked in there, met you. We started, you were great. You were so positive. I discovered something that I had never known about. I did, we did weight training, we did cardio. I just enjoyed it. I got a buzz out of it. So I guess that was kind of like at least the start of the reversing my course and trying to become more fit and keep that weight off.
Well, that's why I'm excited to have you on this show. You went to the doctors, and a lot of times people, the first thing they want to do is take medications, right? They want to take the easy way out. And you're proof. So, you said back in your 40s, and that was like, 20 years ago, right? So we've known each other for 25 years. and you look amazing. So, do you attribute, because you're a successful entrepreneur, do you attribute to how you look upon life? Like, what could you tell other people? To walk into a gym is intimidating.
It is a little bit like when I talk to people about lots of people have ideas about businesses, for instance, that they want to start. And what I find is that they'll often start working on the reasons that they, the things that would go wrong, right? So I could start that business, except I'd have to get a license, and I don't have any capital to start it with. And the list goes on. I mean, you can think of a million reasons not to do something, whether it's starting a business or going to the gym. All sorts of things can get in the way. And I just think it's a hard thing to do. And I don't know whether it's just DNA or whatever, that you've got to have a different attitude that isn't so much about why I can't do something as much as it is about, well, I'm just going to do it, right? I mean,
Yeah.
You're an example. You started.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that. So as much as, and that's why I'm started this show, the Inner Life of Fitness, because I have been inspired. So as much as, thank you for saying that I helped make a difference in your life, I get inspired by individuals like yourself. So here you are, you're successful, you've started businesses. Never in your head were you like, oh, I can't do this. But with the fitness part, you recognize, okay, I'm not sure how to get a program. I better work with someone to get a program. So you had the drive, but you knew you needed a coach, right? So, and I remember one of our dialogues talking, and you said to me, and I want to share this because I want listeners to hear this, is you looked at me one day, and we always had great conversation. And when you do work with a coach, whether it's a fitness coach or whatever, you have to have that relationship, right? Obviously, you want to make sure they know what they're doing,
right.
But there has to be that connection. And if there's not, you need to find someone else. So I was fed by you and inspired by you as much as you're saying you were by me. And this one question, I'm like building it up because it's profound, it's simple, but it's the hardest thing to do. And you said to me, I was a young, single, wasn't, I didn't have a child yet, but yet I was scared. You said, if money was not an object, Lisa, what would you do in life? What would you do for work? And I was kind of like, whoa, are you serious? No, I'm serious, Lisa. Like let's say you won $1 million. Mm-hmm. And I just and ever since then, I always think like that. So that's why I'm excited that you're my first guest.
That's cool.
Because you were truly an intricate part, because we talked the other day where we may not talk all the time, but different key points, I'll still reach out to you for business guide. And you'll hopefully after us talking, you'll be like, all right, I need to do a little bit more lifting rather than barrels of hay. Right. But yeah, so I think that's a great message for people out in the world is, what would you do if money wasn't an object? Be happy. Who did you get that from, Dan? Who taught you that?
I'm not sure I know the answer to that. When you're talking, I'm thinking about conversations I've had with my kids about what their passions are, what they want to do in terms of careers or work or whatever. And one of my sons said to me at one point while we were talking, well, what if my kids, well, I want to make sure that I can afford to send them to college, right? And he doesn't have any kids, by the way, so this is a long way off. And I really kind of pushed back at him and said, things will, and I know I don't want to sound like, things will take care of themselves, right? And if you worry about that, if you go into thinking about what do I want to do with, in 20 years, I need to have enough money to send my kid to college, I think you're probably going to miss what your calling is. I think I've never, I didn't have, I've been successful as a business person, but I didn't start that way. I didn't have anything when I started, but even then, I just never worried. It'll just take care of itself. And that may sound to some people like, well, it's easy for him to say, but it's just kind of an attitude. And, that doesn't mean that I just leave everything up to fate. I'm pretty intentional. I'm pretty driven. But I use this analogy sometimes. I don't know if it's a good one or not, but if you think about, you're a skier, right?
Yeah.
If you ski scared, meaning
Mm,
you're going down the hill thinking about all the bad stuff that's going to happen,
yeah.
then what's going to happen? The bad stuff's going to happen. You
Yeah.
cannot ski scared. You can't go through life scared. You have to just go for it and just have faith, I guess. I know
Yeah.
maybe that
Well,
sounds
no,
like,
and that's talking about I would consider that a healthy mindset. So what advice
yeah,
would you give to someone if they don't have that healthy mindset? So you keep moving forward. When you started and you're so humble, and you started major businesses and did them well, and then you sold them, and then major businesses, and now you've landed up in Maine. And the other day we were talking, and you said you probably feel the happiest right now, right? You feel that your business, you've done a lot of great businesses, but for the first time, because of your healthy mindset of keep moving forward, you could have stayed running those businesses. You were making a lot of
right,
money, right? So,
sure,
so again, it goes back to you want to survive, but it's never been about money for you, right?
right, right. I
So
mean,
you're driven. There's some people that are driven. So, and that goes into why I'm doing these stories again, because the inner life, people could be skinny, and you started out being really skinny. You came to me really skinny, but you didn't look strong. So we had to work on
right,
your strength, right? So I think I'm kind of like pulling an analogy here. The bones of your strength of, and now you look healthy because you're stronger with your muscles. It's the same with the mind. You could have making all this
sure,
money, and not be happy, right?
right.
So
Yep, sure.
what advice would you give to people to help motivate them? Where do they start? I mean, because would you think it's the same running a business and taking care of your body?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think totally. I can think of ways that, here's an example, I guess, is, I we have a farm here, and it's 6, 7 years ago when we started. I had 5 head of cattle, and this year we'll have around 250. So but there are a couple of pieces in there. One is, taking care of the animals in a way that they take care of me and the people that are part of the farm and the people that eat the beef. But also that now I have a number of people who work for me here. There's about 7 or 8, and they're the they're the pieces that hold it together. And I think I've learned over the years that taking care of the people who are working for you and helping you make something happen is critical. And I guess that's the same way as taking care of yourself, right? Um,
Yeah.
just being
I,
fit,
I
taking
do.
care of yourself in terms of what you're eating. And it's easy to say that, and I fall backwards sometimes. It's
So,
we all
so
do, I think.
let's talk more about your farm. First of all,
I love to.
congratulations. Yeah, I want to talk more about it, because also what I want to hear more about it, because it's very healthy for the body. And
Yep.
I actually have had your beef, and you co-op with other places. So, but tell us about your food, and tell us more about your farm.
Sure. So we raise 100% grass-fed cattle here, and that means and that's the natural food that the cows eat. And I think that it's related completely to fitness and to health. Um, you know, there are only two, to me, there's like two things that people ought to take care of. One is, their physical fitness, and not be sedentary and anything. But the other is, if you look at what we as Americans eat, it's pretty much bizarre and bad. And if you think even about beef, and what inspired me is, most of the beef in the United States is it has a number of issues. It's raised in what are called confined, feedlots. It's fed corn and grain at the end of their lives to speed up their growth. But that's actually almost a poison for cattle. And so the cattle are given antibiotics as a matter of course, not when they're sick, but to counteract the grain that they're being fed. And all of that produces a lot of beef, which Americans like, but not very good beef. It doesn't taste well. It's good, and it's not good for people. And the health that people can gain from eating better, eating grass-fed beef from Maine that tastes delicious, it's huge. And so I think, the work that you're doing and the work that I'm doing here are completely aligned. I heard in your first show when you were talking about medicine, and I've got the same complaints. When you go to the doctor, does the doctor say, the first thing a doctor ought to ask you is, well, tell me a little bit about your, fitness. So do you work out? They rarely ask that, or they say, you check a little thing on the form. But the other thing they don't ask, it's bizarre to me, is tell me about your diet. Right?
Wow, I agree.
They don't.
Yeah.
I don't get it. That's
Yeah.
what goes in is what you're made up of.
That's the point of the show, and I thank you for bringing that up. Right? It's the mind, body, and the spirit. It's our mindset. So you talked about that healthy mindset, but it's also what you're putting in your body, and the food is absolutely. The one thing I just have to go on a sidebar. I can't stand when doctors don't support my profession. And, they'll say, if someone gets hurt, they'll say, well, don't do squats and lunges. And I always say, well, how do you get off the toilet? Because I can squat. Sorry, I had to do a sidebar.
No.
So Dan, I want to ask you, we're sitting here talking and it makes it sound like, hey, we're both living perfect lives. And we know that's not true. So I want you to share, if you don't mind, well, what has been your greatest challenge in your work or your life, and how have you overcome it? How you've gotten through
it? Good question. I think I've had a hard time maintaining long-term relationships. Sometimes but I think I have, fitness in general just is good to help you out, whether it's, I always tell my kids, when they're all stressed, I said, how about going for a walk, and I should give myself the same advice, and I do many times. So I don't know. I don't feel like I've had, like the way I've approached my life, and I don't mean to sound like, oh, it's better or something, and I tell my kids this, I'm just never really looked more than 2 years out. Like even now, I don't know what's going to happen, and I'm not worried about it. I just don't think there's a lot of value in stressing about where things are going to go, and just see what comes along.
Yeah.
So
I think people need to find more friends like you. And like I said,
I need friends, so they can call me.
So come visit your farm.
That's
come
right.
Visit Heartstone Farm. You do have a Facebook page, right? So Heartstone Farm, they can go to your Facebook page. What message do you want to give our listeners today? What do you want to leave our listeners with? Besides that you're happy and you have a farm and you started later in life to have a farm, which I think that is crazy, but awesome.
I think just maybe the theme that's run through this conversation, Lisa, is, don't try to get through what you're afraid of, right? I think a lot of people are mean, a big thing is people are afraid of failure. That's why they come up with, here's all the reasons I can't do this or that, you know? And I think confronting those fears and really kind of, you know, oftentimes I found this, I actually did this exercise once with a guy who was he was a yoga teacher and everything. And he said, you know, think about what your fear is and then make it real specific. Okay. You know, so that thing you're afraid of, okay, what happened? And then picture yourself in that environment, because often what we're afraid of is worse because it's kind of ambiguous than the actual thing. And if you go there, you know, in your mind and say, okay, so there I am, and I did this exercise. And then he says, so what now? What are you going to do? And you're like, okay, well, I think I'll, and it may not be comfortable, but by going up to and touching and confronting your fear, it can be a real help to kind of saying, you know what, I could get through that. You know,
Wow.
does that make sense?
No, that's awesome. That's
So,
awesome.
I don't know.
Well, Dan, thank you so much for joining me today. This has been awesome to reconnect. And I thank you for
Absolutely.
sharing your story and helping to inspire others. And, you know, being that pebble in the water, you know, being that like what you do with your farming, you have good quality food that goes into people's bodies. You're giving jobs. You do co-op with other locations, right?
With some
So
other
you
main farms. Yeah, we've got
yeah.
kind of, we're selling their products. Yeah.
So, you know, you're the same way. So, you know, people, please look up Heartstone Farm. My friend Dan, he's awesome. So thank you for joining me today.
It was my
And
pleasure.
I hope my listeners have enjoyed today. And join me next week where we'll be another show of Inner Life of Fitness, where we'll be inspired by Lori Jatari, where she'll share her stories of resiliency during difficult times. She's an author of a new book, Learn to Leap. Super excited about that. And she's also a co-owner of Visual Thrives, a digital marketing company. Now, if you have any inspiring stories and you feel you want to send a positive message, email me, lisa@bodysoultraining.com. And I want to wish you guys light, love, and happiness. Move more, drink more water, and remember to breathe. And thank you for joining the Inner Life of Fitness. Have a great day, everybody.